Hi, my name is Paul Kautza. I'm the Director of Education at TDWI, and we're here at our San Diego World Conference. I'm fortunate enough to be joined by Krish Krishnan, who is President and founder of Sixth Sense.
Thanks, Paul.
Sixth Sense
Advisors.
Advisors, that's right. Krish, you've been teaching for TDWI for quite a while, and you focus a lot on the big data space and different areas. For our Orlando conference, which is coming up I think the week of December 8th, you're going to do 4 half-day classes for me.
Correct.
One is on, the theme of that conference is emerging technologies for 2014. So you're going to one class on what you see coming up down the pike for emerging technologies.
Right.
You're going to do a half day on, I got to put my glasses on here, sorry, on evolving information architectures and what's happening with information architectures, one on the future of data, and one on new data analytics architectures.
Right.
Could you kind of give us a sense of your thought process on those series of 4 classes and how they come together for you?
Absolutely, Paul. As we were looking at, what we would evolve into next year, right? I mean, one of the things is that I'm also an independent analyst, as you're aware, and in many of the discussions in the analyst community, we're talking about the future of data, the future of information architecture. What is the impact of big data? Is this something that we really have already understood the value point from? Is Hadoop the final answer? There is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of noise going on in the industry right now, especially in the data warehouse and BI and analytics space, if you will. So having that as the viewpoint is when I propose these 4 new classes. The information architectures class is a very interesting one in particular amongst the 4, specifically for a reason that we are going to talk about how we evolved ourselves from being, the mainframe, era in the 60s to almost a 3-tier client-server environment in the late 90s to early 2000 to today, where we're talking about mobile, the cloud, and beyond the cloud, right? So we're going to touch, very briefly on history in that class, but we're going to talk a lot about the future. What is the cloud? How does the data reside in the cloud? What is the need for a cloud information architecture? How do you manage data in a cloud environment? What is the app environment going to look like in that space, right? I mean, what do the DevOps teams bring to play? How does security evolve in that space? So if you look at it, we're going to touch broadly across the spectrum of information architecture, but at the same time, deep dive into certain points of interest as we go along in the class. Now, when you talk about information architecture, analytics can't be left far behind. Right. I mean, information is always available, but when you analyze information and provide numbers, and those numbers on a graph or on a bubble chart mean something to somebody who's a decision maker on information, and that is when they take a decision on their enterprise. Today's demand is increased agility in the enterprise. Right. Business wants access to data now. They want access to data as it happens in the environment. They don't have the patience to wait for any ETL, ELT, any kind of data transformation to happen. They just want access to data so that they can make those decisions. So that is when analytics becomes a number crunching game in reality, right? So apart from SaaS, who is going to be there? Who is going to take charge of this analytical architecture? Is R an answer? Is R a sustainable environment? Are we looking at mobile analytics? What do they mean? Is this a push to analytics or a pull from analytics? How does this new environment shape up decision making in the industry? So those are the basic foundational aspects based on which that class is built. If you look at the other 2 classes, they are broad brush because of the nature of the beast. Emerging technologies, I mean, if you look at it, every year we have new technologies. In fact, today, every month, every week, every day, there is a new technology, right? So we're going to have to look at what is specifically interesting in data warehousing and BI in particular. Because if you take BI, we went all the way from Excel reports into mobile apps today, for example, in reporting alone. So what does the future hold for us then? Is it that if you have an app that can show on an iPhone and an Android, are you good BI? I mean, so for example, is Domo or is Neutrino, one of these cloud providers, the right answer for BI for the future? Similarly, in data warehousing, we're looking at new trends in data where we are looking at coming up with architectural aspects of saying no ETL. Let's pull all the data into a Hadoop environment. Let's make that the enterprise lake, as people call it, of all the data in the enterprise. So is that a good option? Is that the emerging trend? Is that how the new data warehouse is going to be built? So these are aspects that we will definitely touch in that class. Absolutely. The last class in particular, which is completely going to be in terms of how we actually emerge into the new world is where my focus is. And the reason why I want to take it in that perspective, and I might change this as we go along. I'm not saying that that will be the only way in which I will evolve the class, but the reason I'm talking about how we will have to emerge in the new world is that we require new thinking. We require everybody to become a thinker in the enterprise. We don't want people to just say, okay, I have access to data, I will look at it, or I'll do a report that the CEO wants or the Center of Excellence wants, the COE wants, right? Everybody has to become a thinker in terms of being an agent of change in the enterprise. So how do we thrust this new thinking process is where the thought process is in my mind at this point as the subject for that class as I'm writing it. I mean, I was actually working on it on the plane ride from Chicago to here today. And hopefully by the end of this week into next, I will have a little more, clearer agenda in terms of how I want to shape that class up so that I'll, have the course done. But nonetheless, that class is going to be more discussion oriented. It's going to be more, QA oriented. I'm planning to look at introducing some surveys in the class for people to fill up and give it back to us, so we can take a result of the surveys and publish it back to the people who are attending the class to say, hey, this is what we found and this is what you guys need to do. Kinds of information changes that would actually bring in a lot more user interaction in the class. Because one of the things that I've heard from people in our classes always is they like user interaction more, right? So that is one of the primary goals of that class, is to make it more user interactive at this point in time.
Terrific. Well, that's a good synopsis. I thank you very much. So those are just 4 half-day classes we are going to have over a 6-day period in Orlando, December 8th through the 15th. And we will have about 45 courses, additional courses around that. And the theme for that conference is Emerging Technologies for 2014. So we hope to see you there. And for more information on that, go to TDWI.org. And with that, I'm Paul Kautza with TDWI. Thank you very much and have a good day.